Welcome to DT Madness, Chronicles from the Third Life, episode 101, August 5th, 2024. So glad you could make it. I don't normally go into an episode with a title in mind, but pretty sure today, brought to you by Tom and Donna, is Treat Yourself. That is why my voice is a little bit hoarse, maybe, and raspy some, but I've been off traveling the last week, seeing a band called Fish with a PH, if you are not familiar. Mm, hard to classify, probably labeled a jam band. Been playing for about 40 years, four guys from Vermont. Um, the lead singer Trey turns 60 in a month or so, which is what part of what spurred me to go ahead and make this big run, not knowing how many more tours they have left in them, and maybe how many tours I have left in me after this little bit. Um, but yeah, man, it's my favorite music. You know that if you have listened to any episodes at all. And normally I would do chronology. I would, go in order, which is what chronology means. But I'm gonna pick a theme. I'm gonna kind of do it theme style. So probably weave back and forth, and it is possible. I'll warn you, listener, that I will be rambling. No, wait, like circling back and forth and around, and maybe I've rushed getting this podcast in. I'm a day late already. It's Monday morning, um, but I wanted to keep my week to week system going. But anyway, so first major theme, or the first kind of category, is the venue. And I went to two different cities. I went to St. Louis and I went to Noblesville, Indiana, which is about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes outside of Indianapolis. Um, Maybe more, but somewhere around in there. And at St. Louis, the venue where Fish played was called Chaffetz Arena, and it's the gym of St. Louis University. The Billikens, which is some type of bird. I've always known about the Billikens because I do March Madness and I know about sports and stuff like that. But and I saw their logo, I saw their emblem. I think it's a bird. But either way, this is where I was, is on like a college campus, and like mid-major, mid-size. I think maybe App State's gym is comparable, bigger than Gardner Webb, bigger than you know. Um, I guess it'd be pretty easy to look up the capacity, but I didn't. But it was a smaller venue, it was a smaller place, and this one is inside, obviously, because gym. This is one of the smaller places that I have ever seen Fish. Maybe the smallest place that I have ever seen them play. I mean, every seat was right there, um, and my seats were right there. I had, if you're looking at the stage, I was on the right side, where the bass player Mike Gordon sets up, and I was about four rows back in the seats. So basically, I'm looking right at the stage at a perpendicular angle. And the second night, same kind of deal, but just a little bit over. So I mean, I had the clearest view of the band. It was amazing. It was amazing. And I was on the aisle seat because that's how I roll. Treat yourself. Um, and because that gives me room. It gives me room to dance, but it also allows me to move in and out, and that's what I prefer it. So I had that hooked up. I stayed down in those seats for the first sets. Fish would play. They will play two sets. They play about an hour, a little over an hour, take about 30 minutes break, come back and play about an hour and a half, and then usually do a 15-minute or so encore, something like that. So it's a good solid 2.5, 3 hours of music. Um, but so second set after during set break, I went up to section 214 because that's where my friend was. My friend Topher lives in St. Louis now, and he and I were roommates back in the day, back at what is the place where dreams go to die? Juniper Terrace. We call it Juniper Terrace, and we were in C7. We lived there during college, right before I met Sarah, right during meeting uh, Sarah. But me and Toph, we've known each other for a long time, since I don't know, middle school, I guess. But I hadn't seen him, and I've seen him here and there in years, but it's been a long time. I guess I saw him last when we were in Nashville to see Fish. So I wanted to go up there and sit with them, and there was plenty of room up there at the top. Um, and so it was amazing. So that was Chaffetz Arena, and then the other venue was Deer Creek. It's called Ruoff Music Center. But there are even shirts, like I still call it Deer Creek, and that's just, it used to be Walnut Creek in Raleigh, which whatever it is now, it's probably Verizon, but whatever it is. Um, I was trying to think if Blockbuster Pavilion was what is it, whatever it is in Charlotte. What did it have a name before Blockbuster? Because obviously that's corporate. But I guess when I first came around, either way, Deer Creek is in Noblesville, Indiana, which is really out. I mean, if you're in the Midwest, you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere anyway, just farms and flats and the biggest crosses you've ever seen. And we've got the biggest pitchfork guys, and like, hey, come check out. This is the largest wind chime in the world. Like this is the Midwest, as best as I can tell, driving through it. And then you get to the city, and there's a city, but not for long. And I'm not hating. That's just my observation of driving through several times. But the amphitheater there, and so this one is outside. It's just, man, I'll make statements sometimes, but I think that this is my favorite concert venue of any of all. Um, it's just amazing. Like, the lawn is amazing. The seats, we had seats. Me and my friend David had seats. Um, eh, right behind the soundboard. I mean, in the sweet spot. Row J, seats 29 and 30, in section F, right in the dead center. I mean, it was just amazing. So um, it it was it was fantastic. Now we did go back out towards the end of night one to the lawn so that we could kind of make our getaway. But we stayed on the lawn the second night because Sarah came up, and we went to the Saturday show, the three of us, and so we were on the lawn. But we got in early. We got in early and set up our blanket, like, right middle, not right on the pathway because people would be moving back and forth, but close enough to the pathway to where I'm a veteran, guys. I'm a veteran. Been around. I know how to do it. But that's it. Chaffetz Arena and Deer Creek. And so the shows, I saw four in total. We had five tickets, but we'll talk about that in just a bit. But the first two were in St. Louis, and night one, I heard some song, like, it was such a long day. Like, it was such a long day, but the adrenaline will carry you through on night one, and it just will. And so, like, the way that they opened it with an instrumental called Cars, Trucks, and Buses, which I had not heard. I hadn't heard. I mean, I know about it, but I hadn't heard it. And so, like, oh yeah, I mean, here we go. We're just rolling, and the boys are on. I mean, just in form. Other songs I'd been after, like "Theme from the Bottom," with lyrics like, you know, toss away stuff you don't need in the end, but keep what's important and know who's your friend. Timber, never needed you like this before. But night one, and maybe, I don't know, probably this whole tour will be about the night one St. Louis Tweezer. They have a song called Tweezer, and they definitely jam it out. I have a doormat that as you come into my house says, "I hope you like 30-minute tweezers." Um, this one was 40 minutes. If you listen to it on Live Fish, or if you watch it on YouTube, which you can. Um, it goes for 41 or so. But after the exploration and just, I mean, the four guys just up there playing music for 40 minutes based off of one song, and but after it was over, it was the loudest ovation I have ever been a part of. I haven't been to like a Detroit Red Wings hockey game, I haven't been to Green Bay Packers, I haven't been to these sports stadiums. I haven't been to a soccer stadium in Europe or anything like that, okay? But for me, in any event ever, it was the loudest ovation I've ever heard and sustained for minutes, maybe. It was amazing. It was amazing. I was so tired. I was so tired night two and not really feeling great. So I was way more chill in night two. But that was kind of the music too. It was beautiful. It was jazzy. It was reflective. Um, Played some songs that man just really sent me into really good places. Um, I'll talk about that a little bit more as well. The two shows in Deer Creek were just as full of energy, punch you in the eye. I know if you don't know Fish, you don't know these songs. And we're just telling you, like, these are the songs that I was really hoping to hear. Shade, they played A Day in the Life, a Beatles cover. Night two, set one was just, I mean, oh my gosh, it was fire, or fuego, as they say. I got to hear this song called Hydrogen, which is a very sweet, smooth, beautiful instrumental in the midst of what is Mike's song and then Weekapaw Groove, which I've been looking for years and years. They covered Jimi Hendrix, Isabella. They played the song called Monsters, which is a new song, and it's just very, very touching and tender lyrics as well as shredding guitar. Anyway, but man, yeah, the shows were phenomenal, like just phenomenal. No, no letdowns, no repeats in those four shows that I saw, two in St. Louis and then two in um, at Deer Creek in Indiana. They they were completely unique shows. I want you to know that about Fish. Like, and if we would have went to the show last night in Deer Creek, which David did with our guy Devin Clark, anyway, whatever his name was, they didn't repeat any songs then either, and so like they're a powerful band with a tremendous repertoire. Um, Transportation was was fun. This was the fun part of trying to figure this whole thing out. I like to put the pieces together. I like planning. I like I mean I like planning how I'm going to pre-pack on the days before I get out. I'm a planner. I am. I never thought that I was because I guess I never really write it down so much. I start to keep lists a little bit now, really because I want to be able to put stuff onto the podcast. But mentally, I'm always preparing, and I have a plan. And yeah, so but but my flight left out at 7:30. Now I had points available for all I needed was one way. I needed to fly from Charlotte to St. Louis. Um, I'm gonna fly from Charlotte to St. Louis, rent a car from Enterprise, drive over to Fishers slash Noblesville, Indiana, and then Sarah was gonna meet me up at Deer Creek, and then we'd drive back home in Lizzie Sydney's Camry. And so, but that's the overall transportation plan. I like to get the early flight. All right, I like to get the early flight, basically the first one out if I can help it from the airport. And there are two reasons why I like to do that. One is because if there are delays, and I have experienced those before, if you listen to episode 18, you'll know that. And so if there are delays, then I've got hours and hours of buffer, of cushion to make sure that I still get to St. Louis and that I still get to the show on time. All right. But there's also this theory that I have that the earlier flights are going to be less turbulent because, like, the air hasn't been rippled up yet by all the other planes in the sky. You feel me? Like boats on the water, how they create wake. surely that is happening in the air as well. And so I like the smooth sea. I like the smooth air sea to sail. So that's just my own deal. I did have points. All right, treat yourself. I did have points because of the time. Episode 18, we got bumped down off of first class when I was taking business class, guys, business class. When I was taking Sam to New York, um, as well as the other flights that I've had, I've accumulated enough points to get that one-way ticket. But so since it was free, it was only going to cost me like another $100 to get into business class, which is where I like to be, because bougie, and also because it just helps me feel better. It does. It helps me feel better. I don't freak out about flights like I used to. I really don't. Like I can actually get onto a plane and it doesn't bother me. And and I don't. I really think I could go back with the plebe. I mean, the commoners. The people at the back of the plane. I think I could go back there. I'm kidding, guys, and be okay. But it only cost me like $100, and so I was in seat 3C, right where I like to be. You get to get on first, get to get off first. It's only one person beside you. There's plenty of room, and they bring you drinks and stuff. So I was looking forward to the what is that? What Biscoff? Those cookies. But they didn't have that for me. But I did get some Grandma's mini bites, blueberry vanilla, and they were good. And the guy came back around, and I got a second pack. And of course, I was drinking my Coke because that's what I do. Because treat yourself. And so the flight was really smooth. I had my earbuds in, listening to I forget, something mellow. Been listening to some Red Clay Strays. And man, I found this new. I can't remember. I posted on my Instagram story. I'll have to talk about it next week. Um, it's the song is called "I Can't Wait." But anyway, I was listening to all that Mandolin Orange, anything to keep me kind of mellow. My favorite part is when you can feel the plane hit the brakes in the air, and it's about to be the descent. So anyway, the flight was amazing. I landed in St. Louis, easy airports to navigate, and I had to go catch the Uber from the airport. I had plenty of time, okay, because now it's 8:30 in the morning. Excuse me, and in St. Louis, and I can't check it to my hotel yet, but I got the Uber to um to the hotel in St. Louis so that I could put my stuff down, check my bag, and then let them know I was there so they could text me later when it was ready. And I got the Uber driver, and the Uber driver was named Charles. Charles had on a red like Adidas, tracksuit, excuse me, and a navy hat. And Charles was an older black gentleman, and he was a talker, and that's okay. It's okay. I'm typically somebody who just likes to sit in the back and let you take me where you're going. But this guy, he was something else, and so he was asking me, what all was going on and everything, and asked me if I had ever been on a cruise. He likes to talk about cruises, and I said I had never been on a cruise. That I didn't really. I thought maybe I'd get seasick, and he said, "Oh no, just imagine that it is a hotel, your favorite hotel, and this hotel is stacked on top of a big mall, and you won't even feel it. You won't even feel it." And he said, and there's all kinds of stuff. And he said, you had never been on a cruise because your wife don't want to go on a cruise? Because I bet if she did, you'd be there. And he said, you get on a cruise and there's just all kinds of stuff to do. And he said, no, but there might be some hoochie mamas on there to try to get you in trouble. And so I'm just dying. I'm just listening and talking to him, and he's got Kenny G playing. Kenny G's playing on the radio. We're talking headed about a 30-minute drive from the airport to the hotel, and so we're talking about his daughters and my daughter being a senior, and he's like, "Oh, you got her spoiled." And we're talking about all that kind of stuff. I asked him about his time in the Navy, and he said, sometimes I regret it, my time in the Navy, and sometimes I wish I had stayed in longer. And he said, but it's as I tell my daughter, the decisions that you make, you got to live with them. And there's going to be good things that come out of the decisions. There's going to be things that you regret about your decisions, but you made it. And so you got to live with it. You got to go on with it. And I like that. I like that. I mean, obviously it's got truth to it. Charles, man, the truth teller. But that was a good ride. from Charles, and he dropped me off at the place. 21C, we'll talk about. I did get my 5-star badge from Lyft. I don't know. I switched from Uber to Lyft because I get 5% cash back or whatever, something like that, on this other card. So I was taking Lyft rides all around. When I got to the hotel and checked in, I just walked to this place called Rooster to eat, and then when I came back, I walked back. It was getting hot now. It was like 110 heat index in St. Louis. But I walked back, sat around the hotel for a while. Finally, went back up and checked again a little bit around 11. And I mean, check-in's usually at 3, and they were able to go ahead and get me in. So that was good. That was real good. I So that's what I did. I took lifts around from the hotel down to the arch to see it. I would take it. It was like $6 a ride. I left out a little bit early from the shows so that I could beat the long Uber train of hippies trying to get out, and so that I again like $6-7 a ride, and good people. I got to talk to a lady that has been a social worker for a long time. She's looking for a new start, so she was asking me about North Carolina. I was like, look, it's a good place to be. Um, she's a substitute teacher in St. Louis, and she was talking about those kids and how sometimes you just got to be mean to them. So anyway, I got to know my Lyft drivers. So after that in St. Louis, of course, I had to go to Enterprise and rent a car. I walked the 15 minutes from the hotel. I know they'll pick you up, but I'm like, I'll just walk. So here I am, obvious tourist with my backpack and my rolly bag, walking through the streets of St. Louis, which I don't necessarily recommend. It wasn't the city I enjoyed walking the most, um, but I got to Enterprise, and they very easily checked me in a couple hours even ahead of time. Started to get me set up. They were getting me set up in a Dodge Charger. I mean, I signed up for the Corolla, and but they're like, "Oh, we're gonna set you up since," because I told them this is my last fling, before school starts back, and so we're gonna set you up. So they get me up in this Dodge Charger, and I'm doing the inspection all around. It's a little bit dinged up, and the girl's checking the tires to make sure. Um, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting on them, and in the meantime, some older. Older for sure. I mean, I'm old. I'm 40, almost 7 now. I'm past halfway. So some older black ladies came in, um, dressed up, like looking nice. You know what I'm saying? Didn't have the hats on or anything, but they were ready to go on a trip, and obviously they were regulars. And so the lady, the person behind the counter, her name was Shelby, and she was the one that was kind of running the office, and she definitely was doing a great job. And oh, you from Shelby? My name's Shelby. This kind of thing. And so, but I'm sitting there in the waiting room, and these older ladies are coming in, and where are you going? Where are you going this time? Shelby asks, and the ladies, we're going to drive to Minnesota. We're driving up to Minnesota this weekend. Okay, okay. It's just the two of y'all? Yep, just the two of us. And so, well, the $4 charge covers the all the incidents and all that kind of stuff. But I will tell you, just for $6 more, you can get Enterprise roadside service, which I know you got AAA, but AAA won't get you into another Enterprise car, whatever, whatever, whatever. And the older lady says, now, Shelby, don't be burning my bread. And I don't know why I thought that was the best thing ever, but I told him right then, I was like, oh, I'm going to use that. I'm back there laughing, having a good time. Okay. Don't be burning my bread, Shelby. But I think they ended up getting the $6 coverage. I don't know if they did or not. I didn't. I just got the $4 one because I remember what they said. And really, like, they put me in this Charger, and I'm like, does this thing really get good gas mileage? Because I'm trying to not have to spend too much money on gas. And I prepaid for gas at Enterprise because it was like 247 if you prepay. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And then you could just return it with fumes if you can get there. So I'm like, yeah, that's the deal for sure because it's like 359 up there. And I get in there to crank it up as they're doing the inspection. It's got like less than a quarter of a tank. I'm like, come on, man, y'all want to put some more gas in here? So they say, oh yeah, go fill it up. So they go fill it up, and I come back. They didn't fill it up, but it has like three-quarters now. So okay, okay, okay. And I asked if it got good gas mileage, and the response from the other manager was like, "Oh, it's better than you think." Which I'm like, okay, okay, whatever. So I get in, figure this thing out. I mean, it's a Charger now; it's got some muscle. It's red too. And so I had to hook up my Bluetooth and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm taking off, heading towards out of St. Louis, heading towards Indiana. About a 4 hour drive, straight as can be on 75 or 70. I forget which one. I think 75. And this thing is telling me it's going to get like 15 miles a gallon. So I'm already like, man, starting to calculate how much money I'm going to have to put in this thing. But obviously, somebody had been just goosing that thing around town because as I drove on the highway, it kept refreshing itself. And it ended up getting like, I don't know. I mean, we got 40 miles to the gallon in the Camry on the way home. This probably got about 23, but it had enough gas to get me there. The you need fuel, the low fuel light came on right as I pulled into Enterprise in Fishers, Indiana. That steering wheel was very touchy. That was the only thing I didn't like about the Charger. Like one little move, and it was very wiggly. So I did not enjoy. I don't think I'll be getting myself a Charger. Okay, okay, okay. And then of course for to wrap up transportation, Sarah had driven up in our 22 Camry, and then we took a we drove around in it for a couple of days, and then yesterday we decided to drive on home. About an 8 hour drive, couple stops, just straight as it can be, no traffic, beautiful. We got home by about 5:30. The hotels, man, were I mean, the shows were the best part, but also the hotels were the best part. The hotel that I stayed at in St. Louis was called the 21C Museum Hotel, and it had art like art installations all around. But the first floor was you walk up the steps from the lobby into this art gallery, and just some real pop modern like art, babies branded with different corporate logos, um, dollar bills, different denominations of bills with clown faces on them. And I wish I could remember the quote from one of the Marx Brothers, I think, about clowns and politicians. But um, like murals and mosaics of just, man, whatever, like just really cool looking stuff. Not like the modern art in Charlotte, not like the modern art in New York or anything like that, but still, this is in my hotel and it's free, and I can just walk around and look at these different kinds of things. And so that was a really cool spot. The whole decorations in the place was just, I mean, chic. It was modern chic. It just was. And so I really did enjoy it. I was on the 10th floor. That's the top floor. But then you could. So there's these penguins all around. I don't know what they're made of, like plastic type stuff. But I mean, a good 4 feet tall. And there was one in my hallway, and people would keep moving it around, so you never knew if it was going to be outside your door or whatever. There was a rubber ducky in the little corner thing where you put your soap in my shower, and I don't know, that was one of my favorite parts too. The room had an espresso machine in it, robes, two robes, because it had saunas, dry sauna. This is down on so it's got a, what do you call a spa? There weren't. I did check because treat yourself, but they didn't have any reservations available to catch the massage. But they had for free a swimming pool, a hot tub. They had a steam room. They had a what was called a moon shower, and they had a dry sauna, and it was awesome. And I would just go down there. It was hard to sit in the steam room because it was, well, I couldn't stand there for more than 2 minutes or so. But I did keep going back in. The moon shower didn't really get what it was supposed to do for you. I sat into the hot tub for a little bit, but most of the time I stayed in the dry sauna. That was the spot. That was the spot for me. And it was the spot for one of the workers, like one of my students, man. He's in there and he's listening or watching his TikToks or whatever it was. I mean, this kid's probably, I don't know. I don't know if he's 19 or 21, but maybe he was 17, but it definitely could have been one of my students. And he was a houseman. He was working there at the hotel. So he had on his black shirt, his black pants, and his black shoes with his name tag. And I came in to sit in there in the dry sauna, and I'm talking to him a little bit. I was like, man, I can't go in the steam room. He said, nah, me either, man. You just get wet as soon as you go in there. But I love to come in here. I come in here every break I get. I come and sit in here. I could spend periods of time, he said. I could spend periods of time in here. But I did. I did spend periods of time in there. So this is just what I'm doing, man. I'm just living in this hotel, and it's awesome. They had water stations, like they had refillable water bottles that were, enhanced with electrolytes or whatever. And then there was a water station on my floor. They could just, you put the bottle back in there, it fills it right back up to the top. And that was crucial. That was crucial because you've got the water. I like to drink sink water. I guess I'm bougie, but anyway, um, it was awesome. It was just awesome. I love that hotel so much. 21C Museum Hotel is what it was called. Uh, I will say that the second night, I was dead tired. I was dead tired. Early flight, late show, another show. I'm not even feeling too great. Dead tired. No, I got to drive the next day. I am someone typically who, if I hear the least creak or whatever, I'm a light sleeper, is what I'm saying. But I must have been in stage four deep, deep sleep. But at 3 in the morning, I was awakened, like not right away, but like kind of awakened to this just, I don't want to do it too loud, but it was like, boop. It was the loudest tone like that. And then all of a sudden, fire emergency, fire emergency. Make sure you evacuate the building. You may use the elevators. I'm just trying to get up and stumble around. I don't hear a lot of other people getting up. So finally, I just call the front desk because I'm trying to find pants or whatever in my stupor. And they're like, sorry about that. It is a false alarm. There is no fire or smoke. And I was just like, okay, that was wild. That was wild. Um, the Prairie House bed and breakfast is where we stayed in Fishers, Indiana. There's some type of market thing across the street with a balloon, a giant helium balloon that serves like a hot air balloon, takes people up, and they have music there. And I don't really don't know what else over there. I've never gone. But this Prairie House place is where I went 2 years ago when I went to Deer Creek to see fish. Um, and I stayed there. It's just it's just beautiful and peaceful. And I love the designs of the houses. There's a yoga place, a yoga house. The main house where breakfast is served, it's just got the best plants and little statues. And it's just got beautiful art and it's just laid out. And John, the guy that runs the innkeeper, the guy that runs the place, I feel like we're best friends. And like I walked up from the show the second night, and he and his friends are standing out because they'd been listening to a Jimmy Buffett cover band because you can hear it from the market across the street. And he's like, "Hey, Mayor," I mean, it's just stuff like that that he he took the time to know who I was. Made amazing food. The the actual bed place, the quarters. Welcome to my Want to come to my quarters. We were in the Hamilton room. Um, Two giant beds. Man, just very, very cozy. The only downfall of any place like this is that you can hear the other people, but most of the time, everybody was really considerate of each other and not very loud. I just love it. I love sitting outside on the deck and looking at the different statues they got. They got a little Buddha garden to the side. They've got a vegetable garden where they feed you some. They use their tomatoes and stuff like this. Like, oh man, I love it so much. I love it so much. I just can't. I can't wait. I really. If it's Dave Matthews, whoever, I want to find a reason to go to Deer Creek again, and then I'm going to stay at um, John's place one more time. That was a long time for hotels, huh? Foods. I got to St. Louis and took the Uber to the hotel, and then I walked to this place called Rooster because they were a creperie and a breakfast place, and it was locally sourced. And I got there, and I got this thing called ham and jam, which was like a ham biscuit with eggs on it and strawberry jam. I can't even remember some other types of cheese, and it had rooster potatoes with it. And oh my gosh, I knew like I had to, so I ate it. I ate all of it. I did, and drank a lot of coffee before I walked back to my place. Um, I went back there like I was just eating snacks, but through the day, like wheat thins and animal crackers and dark chocolate and because then I ate chicken tenders and fries with Pepsi at the show. These things were mistakes, you know. And so the second day, I went back to Roosters um, for breakfast, and this time I just got their traditional breakfast, which is basically everything except for it was bacon, not ham, and it wasn't put all on a biscuit. So anyway, but really, really delicious and great people. A really cool spot. I mean, it's my spot in St. Louis where I go. I go to Rooster, and they probably know me there. I was going to lick the strawberry jam off of my knife. It was one of those pointy knives, and I had one of those like spasms. I just had this. My hand just jerked up for whatever reason, and I poked the crap out of my lip, like right in the middle of my top lip. I'm like, dang, man, I'm be sitting here bleeding out here in the Rooster. Luckily, it was just a couple dabs, and I wasn't bleeding anymore. But I kind of felt not too smooth at that point. But I did the same program. I had chicken tenders and fries again at the show, and yeah, my digestive system was unhappy with me, and so I wasn't feeling too great that night too show. Um, and I knew I had to change it up, so I did. I changed it up, and I became a Panera guy. I like Panera, and I've had it a couple of times. And Sydney and Sarah like to go get it. Our closest one's in Gastonia, about 45 minutes from us. But I stopped on the way to Indiana when I was in the Dodge Charger. I stopped. I don't know where. I don't know where it was, but I stopped when there was a Panera because I know that they've got fresh-ish stuff. And I got, the chicken avocado. Avocado is good for you. And I got that and ate it. And then, and I got it again when I got to the Prairie House. I ordered Uber Eats because the night I got there was Thursday and there wasn't a show. This was a day off. So I ordered because I didn't have a car. I had turned in my rental car in Fishers, and Sarah was going to come up the next day, and my friend, or 2 days. Sarah was going to come up on Friday, yeah, and then, but in the meantime, David was going to come up and drive me around. David was going to come up and drive me around to the shows and stuff. So I had to get Uber Eats to bring me some food for supper, and I got it from Panera, and I got it from Panera, and I got them to bring me I forget, Bravo turkey something or another, greens and turkey, and I had avocado put on there and all this kind of stuff. And it was, man, it was good, except for the fact that it was the biggest thunderstorm. Man, it was just pouring down. So I'm like taking off my shoes, taking off my shirt, except for my tank top. All right. I didn't feel like I should just take it all the way off. Dashing out about, I don't know, 20 yards to meet the Uber Eats person. She gets out and hands me the stuff, and we're all just kind of laughing. And I dash back in. Anyway, dry myself off a little bit and eat. But Panera was the game changer, man. What it really was. And I ordered it again for lunch the next day. And I was smart because I got enough to where I could have it for lunch and for supper the next day. So I'm eating Panera over and over and over. And but the breakfast that was there at the Prairie House was the first morning was like an Italian omeletto. I don't know, Italiano, but just like pesto, obviously eggs, some Italian cheese, balsamic, tomatoes, which I didn't know. He asked me about dietary restrictions, and I said I can't eat onions because I don't want to, and I don't ever eat tomatoes. And I honestly thought they were roasted red peppers, and I was eating it, and it didn't taste like tomatoes; like it tasted like the rest of the omelet. And by the time I asked him what all was on it, and he told me tomatoes, I was like, all right, I guess I'm that guy now. But just like potatoes with it and English muffin of some sort with raspberry jam. Mm, just so good. And I'm drinking lots of water, not eating as many snacks and this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I needed all that. Like fried food and me, we don't we don't we don't play together anymore. Um, so I even tried the pickle in Panera, and I took 2 bites of it, and I thought like maybe I was going to become a pickle guy. But then I took 3 bites of it, and then I realized I wasn't. Um, I will say that the other breakfast he made a strata, some layered thing with tomatoes and other types of stuff on it, and it was good. And the quiche was the third day. Oh God, just amazing stuff. And you're sitting there and you're talking to John because he's my best friend. Listen to good music like Gregory Alan Isaacoff's playing on there. This new band that I told you about with the "I Can't Wait" song played. I mean, Sam Cooke and Ray Charles and Staple, like just his yeah, his playlists were great. Um, and it was amazing, and the coffee was good. I will say that I didn't get as much ice cream. I didn't get any ice cream in St. Louis, um, but at the Deer Creek venue, they had ice cream, soft serve ice cream in a little pouch, like you're a little kid eating your applesauce or whatever. Those little, those little screw off top with the pouches, so that it's not a big mess. And I was like, man, for about a half second, I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. And then I was walking over there to get one, and I got one both nights. And the second night, it was funny because I got there and I was sitting in the seats, and it was way before anybody was there. And Sarah and David were back up on the lawn, and so I'm sitting there talking. The guy turns around. I don't know him. The guy turns around. He's like, "Hey, man, how is that?" And so here we are talking about it, and he's like, "Well, does the pouch change the flavor profile?" Like these are real conversations that two grown men are having at a fish show about the squeeze pouch ice cream and its flavor profile. It didn't change it. It was amazing. It really was. Had a few adventures outside of the concerts. I went and saw the St. Louis Public Library, or the one that was near me. The architecture was beautiful, and it had amazing um, quotes about public education. I did go to the Arch, the gateway to the West, and that was cool. I mean, that was cool. I went down early in the morning because it was so hot. I wasn't going to be out much during the day in St. Louis, but I did. I walked around that whole park. I went to the South Side viewing platform. I asked the person riding around, the ranger, if the North Side was any different, and she's like, "There's an air bridge. You can go out and see a prairie." I didn't, but I did walk up there. And I was just kind of taking a look. I thought about doing a video there for my students, but I did see the arch. I saw the art in the hotel, and as I was walking, I saw this. Oh man, it must have been early '90s Ford Ranger with just some sick wheels. I mean, white. Oh man, like white caps, white hubcaps. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I love a Ford Ranger, and I think they should have put that into the museum. Um, the other adventures that we had didn't do much. I didn't do much. So it mostly I was just going to fish, and it was really hot. But I mean, I did. I saw the art. I saw the arch, um, and in Deer Creek though, pretty much just stayed at the place. So the only other kind of adventure that we have is that we did begin to leave like right as soon as the encore was going on. We'd wait and hear what the song was going to be, and then we would take off. And the rush of trying to beat the traffic out, which we did every time, was pretty fun. Thoughts that were sparked. Like I said, I was going to make my teacher video for my AP government class because I teach in North Carolina, and so I have to make sure that the parents consent for me to talk about things like the First Amendment, religion or politics or speech. Like I have to get consent to talk about free speech with their students. But anyway, I will, and I'll do it right. But I didn't do that because I don't know why. I couldn't get the arch in my video good, really, if we want to be honest. I thought at one point while I was sitting in the dry sauna that I think I'm going to try to grow myself a ponytail. And I don't know how long that would take. And I know that there's that awkward phase, and I don't know if I can get through it. But by the time I'm 50, which is still 3.5 years, I could have a pretty kick tail pony. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Like, I'm gonna have to. I've got a haircut coming up next week, right before school. So I think I'll keep that one. Get my fade with the one guard, and then ask Kathy, what does a man do if he wants to grow a ponytail? How do I need to cut it or not cut it from here on? Hmm. I thought about how uh, amazing in the moment, in the zone, I feel when I'm down. I can break it down, y'all. I just don't know if you know that about me, but like I can break it down when I'm at fish shows. I can dance and I can dance the whole time, and I'm sober, completely sober, completely sober. Have been for almost 4 years now, and like so, no substances at all. I'm 46 and a half years old. I'm tired, but I can break it down the whole time. The whole 40-minute tweezer, I'm breaking it down. I'm just telling you, I can stay with the rhythm and I love to. It's why I like to go. That's the energy. That's where I feel. But I realize that when I'm dancing with my eyes closed, which I do, how much freedom I feel to because obviously I'm not caring what anybody else thinks around me. I don't care about that much anyway. The only time I think about that is if there are people who I can tell need need a vibe, you know, because sometimes I'll pick up a vibe from other people, and that's a beautiful thing about being at these concerts with these people is that sometimes when I've lost it, when I've lost the flow, I can see that they're really breaking it down and they're feeling the energy, and then that energy spills over to me. And this is obviously a life thing, but yeah, I thought about that. Um, the song Pebbles and Marbles, Pebbles and Marbles, say that three times fast, came on, and it's a song that Trey wrote about his daughter. And man, that was night two in St. Louis, and it was all I could do to not come undone thinking about Sydney starting up her senior year here in a week or two. Um, they played a song called "Miss You" for Encore Night Two in St. Louis, and I was just thinking about my dad, and the lyrics go, you're everywhere," and I thought about that. Um, and Deer Creek, they played a song called "Drift While You're Sleeping," which is basically about it's kind of like we go through these struggles together, but love will see us through. It's love, it's love. It always was, and it always will be love. And there's that kind of thing, and there's that kind of energy at these shows with all these hippies and these people who want peace and love, and like sometimes that gets made fun of in more conservative culture, but I don't know like why we would be against peace and love and stuff. But like there's also a song called Monsters, which is about dealing with real anxiety and I wake up in my bed with monsters in my head and like got to take it easy now. Like it's not just a happy love fest. This is real stuff that Trey and the guys are singing about. Um, Weekapaw Groove, uh, trying to make a woman match my mood. Just you want to think about anyway. But I just I just want to grab it. I just want to grab it. I want to grab it and go. Life. I want to live it, and I want to make it mine. And that's what I told my kids. I told it to make it yours, and I might share that with you next week. The pregame speech, the preschool speech I wrote for them. The last topic, and this is maybe a record long. I appreciate you sticking with me if you have. The last topic is friends, and that's with a PH because fish. The uh, the first people that I want to talk about are Eliana, Jace, and Maverick. These are three little kids. When I got to the Prairie House in Indiana, the bed and breakfast Thursday at 3 o'clock, um, a little bit after a family came in, uh, and they were unpacking their minivan, and the three kids were coming around, and at first I was like, oh, maybe they're gonna, but whatever. I wasn't really like that long. And then at breakfast the next morning, I got to meet them. I got to talk to them a little bit and find out what they were doing. And Eliana was the oldest. She was 6, and Jace was 4, and Maverick was one, and he could walk, but he was crawling around a lot, and he was just making the sounds. So I didn't talk to Maverick much. I didn't feel like I should ask a hold your kid. It was wild because it was us 15 years ago, you know, like it was me and Sarah driving up in a minivan with three kids, 6 and under. Um, and their kids were fun and energetic, but they were also well behaved and they listened and they were considerate of other people. But it was cool, man. And then as they were packing up to leave after breakfast, uh, Eliana and Jace were just out on the deck with me. I was out there trying to read a book. I guess I didn't add this in. I read this book called Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo while I was there. Maybe that was an adventure I had. It was good. It was good. Um, but Eliana and Jace were telling me about them going to the zoo and about their little brother Maverick and about some other kinds of things that I don't even know what. But I was talking to them and they had their little cameras out there and they were taking pictures and they were showing me their games and just talking. I'm just having a great time. And it allowed, mom and dad to pack up and I was like, yeah, man, y'all are good people. I remember these days. These are good days. Um, Mine are now 21, almost 18, and almost 16, almost 21. Yeah. So yeah, there was this guy named Frank, and Frank was in front of us in the seats on night one of Deer Creek, and Frank had obviously been to some shows, and he looked like it, and he had been through it a few times, I think. Uh, he talked about how he used to go see the dead, and he loved to do that when he was a cook because he would say, "Hey, manager, I'm going to take a week off and go see the dead," and they would say, "Nah, we can't give you that time off right now." And then the next day or two, they would look around and say, "Where's Frank?" And then the other person would be like, "Oh, he went on dead tour." He's like, so "Where's Frank" became a catchphrase. I know that doesn't mean something to you. There was this kid there. I don't know if you've ever watched The Office. The late season's Office, there are these two younger guys that come in, and one of them's name is Clark. And Clark, I almost think that was him. But this guy's name was Gavin. And it was his first fish show the same night of a Saturday night, which was Sarah's first fish show too. So there's all the energy going around. And his energy was unmatched. I told him as we left, don't ever change, man. Every song that would come on, he would get so excited. He knew what it was. I mean, it was awesome. Gavin. We called him Devin. I called him Clark, but I'm pretty sure his name was Gavin. But um, for real though, I got to see my guy Topher in St. Louis and spend a couple of shows with him and his wife Becky Bex. Um, I got to enjoy that tweezer with him, a guy that I've known for all these years, a guy that was my roommate, one of the greatest people you'll ever meet in your entire life, kindest people. I got to see our friend Philip at Deer Creek. Um, and I saw him the first night on Friday, and we talked a little bit, and then he came up and sat with us on the lawn a little bit before the show. Found out that it was so we know Philip from Shelby, and his wife Jody wasn't there, but Sarah and Jody know each other, and so Philip found out that it was Sarah's first show, and he was hugging her and like, "Oh man, it's gonna be awesome," and it's just good people, man, just good people. And I can't. I won't tell the story about Philip. I won't tell the story. Maybe later. But my friend David was there. David, I don't know. Davey. He was struggling a little bit with a bum foot, but he's a warrior, man. He's a Game 7 MVP, and always good to see my guy. David is the original six in the Church of Six. I don't want anybody to misunderstand the Church of Six. The Church of Six is my five, and the six is everybody else. Like everybody is welcome. Everybody is a part of this. The six stands for everyone else besides my five. But when we first kind of came up with it, it was David, it was David that was the six. And so being with him, of course, finding out about what's going on with him um, was amazing. And Sarah got to come up. I've been to a lot of fish shows. Fish is typically my solo therapy. But the show that she got to see was the one you want for your first show. And for her to get to experience all that kind of stuff with me and stay in the bed and breakfast, and the drive home, and we're talking about the kids and what's up with this next season, because that's the thing we bailed a day early because it's time to get back to it. And there was no way should be driving home right now, because tomorrow I start back school. We have tennis practice and I have town council, and the season kicks in, and that's it. It's time to get back to it. It's time to make it yours. Wow, pushing an hour. Treat yourself. Appreciate y'all. This is a Church of Six production, brought to you by the Bucket of Life, the Rope of Relationship, the Foundation Tower of Stone, the Wall of Belief, the Token of Hope, the Magic Rock times one received and one given. Nothing divine is desperate, and in order to be, try to never seem. May all your circumstances serve to awaken compassion, and as you go, teach peace. Don't forget to believe, y'all, and be live. Grace and peace, my friends.